Millionaire freezes when he sees twins with a birthmark like his. Sir, are you our father? Before we dive into the story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. Rain pelted against the windows of sunshine. Home as Nathan Mitchell loosened his tie with a weary sigh. Another day, another multi-million-dollar deal closed. Success had become routine, almost boring. At 38, he had everything money could buy, yet something essential remained missing. Nathan glanced at his watch. 7:30 p.m. The boardroom tension still clung to him like the dampness outside. He'd only stopped by this children's home to finalize details for his company's annual charity donation, but something made him linger. Mr. Mitchell, would you like to see our dining hall before you leave? The director asked. The children are having dinner now. Nathan nodded absently, following her through corridors decorated with colorful artwork. The dining hall buzzed with activity, dozens of children eating, laughing, living their lives despite difficult circumstances. That's when he saw them. Twin boys, no more than 6, sitting quietly at the end of a table. Unlike the other chattering children, they ate methodically, sharing occasional whispers between themselves. Their clothes were clean but visibly worn, their small frames swimming in sweaters several sizes too large. Something about their solitude amid the chaos struck Nathan deeply. Who are they? He asked the director. Lucas and Ethan Parker. They're not residents here. They attend our after-school program while their aunt works late shifts at the hospital. Nathan found himself walking toward them, pulled by an instinct he couldn't explain. The boys looked up in unison as his shadow fell across their table, identical brown eyes studying him with surprising composure for children so young. Hello, Nathan said, crouching to their level. I'm Nathan. I'm Lucas, said one boy. I'm Ethan, said the other, a slight scar above his eyebrow, the only distinguishing feature between them. Do you like the soup? Nathan asked, immediately feeling foolish for the mundane question. It's okay, Lucas shrugged. Aunt Susan's is better, but she works today. Your clothes look a bit big, Nathan observed gently. We're growing into them, Ethan replied with practiced dignity. An impulse seized Nathan. Would you like new ones? I could, Mr. Mitchell, the director interrupted. Perhaps we should continue our tour. 2 days later, Nathan returned with shopping bags containing carefully selected children's clothes. The twins' eyes widened at the unexpected gifts. Try them on, Nathan encouraged. As Ethan reached for a sweater, his sleeve pulled back, revealing a distinctive crescent-shaped birthmark on his wrist. Nathan froze, his breath catching. When Lucas extended his arm to examine a jacket, an identical mark adorned his skin. The birthmark, identical to Nathan's own, identical to his brother Michael's, was a rare family trait that appeared only in Mitchell men. That's an interesting birthmark, Nathan managed, his voice suddenly hoarse. Our daddy had the same one, Lucas said simply. Your daddy's name? Nathan whispered, though somehow he already knew. Michael Parker, Ethan answered. But he died when we were babies. The world seemed to tilt beneath Nathan's feet as the impossibility crystallized into undeniable truth. These boys, with his family's distinctive birthmark and his dead brother's surname, were family he never knew existed. Nathan stared at the DNA results on his desk, the clinical confirmation of what he'd suspected since seeing the twins' crescent birthmarks 2 weeks ago. 99.9% probability of paternity match with Michael Mitchell. The words blurred as he ran, his hands through his hair. This is impossible, he muttered, though the evidence was irrefutable. His assistant Vanessa knocked softly before entering his office. The investigator called. He found Michael's death certificate and... She hesitated. The twins' birth certificates. Michael is listed as the father. Nathan's throat tightened. Why didn't anyone tell me? He was my brother. According to their Aunt Susan, Michael tried repeatedly. She said he called your office dozens of times after learning about the pregnancy. Nathan frowned. I never received any messages. Vanessa placed a folder on his desk. I checked our records from that period. There were indeed calls from Michael, but they were all marked "Handled by your Uncle Gerald." Nathan's stomach dropped. Gerald had been his mentor after their parents died, guiding Nathan's career with what he'd always believed was genuine care. The idea that his uncle might have deliberately kept the twins from him seemed unthinkable. "There's more," Vanessa continued. "I found these in the archived files." She slid out several envelopes addressed in Michael's handwriting. All unopened, all marked "Return to Sender" in handwriting Nathan recognized as Gerald's. He intercepted Michael's letters. Nathan whispered, fury building inside him. "It seems so, and there's something else. Gerald restructured your inheritance around that time, making him executor until you turned 40 or..." Vanessa paused. "Or what? Or until you had a family of your own." The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Gerald had controlled Nathan's substantial inheritance for years. The twins would have ended that arrangement immediately. Nathan stood abruptly. "I need to see my uncle now." Gerald's corner office exuded power, much like the man himself. At 65, he remained imposing, his silver hair perfectly styled, his expression calculating as Nathan entered. "To what do I owe this unexpected visit?" Gerald asked smoothly. Nathan tossed the DNA results onto Gerald's desk. "Did you know?" Gerald glanced at the paper, his expression unchanging. "About your brother's indiscretion with that Parker woman? Ancient history." "Not so ancient. I have nephews, twin nephews." Gerald's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "A regrettable situation, I'm sure, but hardly relevant to the company." "You kept them from me," Nathan said, his voice dangerously quiet. "You hid Michael's calls, returned his letters. Why?" "Don't be dramatic. You were 25, poised to take over, a CEO. Children would have derailed everything we worked for." "Everything you worked for," Nathan corrected. "You had no right." Gerald leaned forward. "I protected your future. That woman was never good enough for Michael or this family. Her children would only be a distraction. Their names are Lucas and..." "Ethan," Nathan said through clenched teeth. "And they're my nephews." "Be reasonable." Gerald's voice hardened. "What exactly do you plan to do? Play uncle to some boys you've never met? You know nothing about raising children." Nathan turned to leave, pausing at the door. "I'm meeting with my lawyers tomorrow. I'm filing for guardianship." Gerald's laugh was cold. "You really think a workaholic bachelor with no parenting experience stands a chance? Don't throw away everything for some misplaced guilt." "Watch me," Nathan replied, closing the door behind him. The Parker residence was modest, a sort of small craftsman house with faded blue paint and a well-tended garden. Nathan sat in his luxury car, palms sweating as he rehearsed what to say. This wasn't a business negotiation. These were his nephews. After 3 deep breaths, he finally approached the door. A woman with tired eyes and scrubs answered. "Susan, Parker, the twins' aunt." "Mr. Mitchell," she said stiffly. "The boys are excited to see you." Inside, Lucas and Ethan bounded toward him, stopping just short of a hug, uncertainty in their identical faces. "You came," Lucas exclaimed. "I promised I would." Nathan crouched to their level. "I brought something for you." He handed each boy a small box containing silver compass pendants. "Your father, my brother, had one just like these, so you'll always find your way." The twins exchanged glances before carefully placing the chains around their necks, the kind of wordless communication Nathan remembered between himself and Michael. Susan watched with guarded eyes. "They have homework. Could I help?" Nathan asked. 30 minutes later, he found himself surrounded by math worksheets, discovering that explaining fractions to 6-year-olds was more challenging than any boardroom presentation. "That's not how Ms. Harper shows us," Ethan corrected, patiently demonstrating the method their teacher used. Nathan's phone buzzed repeatedly. 12 missed calls from Gerald, 4 from his executive team. He silenced it. When the boys disappeared to wash up for dinner, Susan studied Nathan carefully. "This isn't a game, Mr. Mitchell. They've already lost too much." I know. I want to be part of their lives, Susan. Permanently. Her expression hardened. You mean take them away? I've raised them since Emma died in childbirth. Not take them. Share them. They deserve to know their father's family. Before Susan could respond, his phone lit up with a text from Vanessa. Emergency. Gerald filed legal objection claiming guardianship conflict. Lawyers waiting at office. Susan noticed his distraction. Your real life is calling, Mr. Mitchell. Lucas and Ethan don't need another disappointment. Nathan pocketed his phone. This is my real life now, Ms. Parker. I'm not going anywhere. The twins returned, Lucas tugging Nathan's sleeve. Can you come back tomorrow? We're building volcanoes. For science. For the first time in years, Nathan knew exactly where he belonged. Tomorrow and every day after that, if you'll let me. The following week brought unexpected challenges. Nathan found himself struggling to balance morning meetings with school, drop-offs, late-night proposal reviews with bedtime stories. You're doing it wrong. Lucas giggled, watching Nathan struggle with packing lunches. Sorry, buddy, I've never done this before, Nathan admitted, attempting once more to separate the yogurt from the sandwich. Ms. Harper says practice makes perfect, Ethan offered helpfully. Nathan's first parent-teacher conference introduced him to Catherine Harper, poised, compassionate, and clearly beloved by the twins. She watched with poorly concealed amusement as Nathan fumbled through the standard questions. The boys talk about you constantly, she said when they finished. That's progress. Nathan's phone buzzed. Gerald again. He ignored it. Listen, Ms. Harper lowered her voice. Lucas and Ethan have been drawing pictures of you in art class. They told everyone their uncle came back from a long trip. She smiled gently. That's a precious gift of trust. Don't waste it. As Nathan left the school, his lawyer called. Gerald's pushing for a psychological evaluation, claiming your sudden interest in the twins is a midlife crisis that could harm their stability. Nathan's jaw tightened. He's getting desperate. There's more. He's scheduled an emergency board meeting, suggesting your family situation is affecting company performance. That evening, as Nathan tucked the twins into bed, Ethan asked drowsily, Are you going to go away again? No, Nathan said firmly, kissing each boy's forehead. I'm not going anywhere. For the first time since discovering their existence, Nathan felt like the twins might actually believe him. Nathan found the box tucked away in Michael's old storage unit, forgotten among furniture and college memorabilia. Inside were dozens of letters, all addressed to Nathan, all unopened. With trembling hands, he opened the first letter, dated 6 years ago. Nathan, I have news that will change everything. Emma's pregnant. Twins. I've called your office 17 times. Gerald says you're too busy to speak with me. I don't believe him. Each letter revealed more of Michael's journey, his joy at becoming a father, his determination to reach Nathan, his struggle with the illness that would eventually take his life. The final letter, written just days before Michael's death, broke Nathan completely. I still believe you would have wanted to know them. I've named them Lucas and Ethan. They have our birthmark, Nathan. Someday I hope they find you. Grief and rage warred inside him. Gerald hadn't just kept him from his nephews. He'd stolen Michael's final years from him, too. At his office, Vanessa waited with grim news. Gerald leaked documents to the press suggesting, You're pursuing guardianship for tax benefits. It's all over the business blogs. Nathan's phone rang. The twins' school. Mr. Mitchell, there's been an incident, Ms. Harper explained. Some children were teasing the boys about the news articles. They're quite upset. When Nathan arrived, the twins sat alone, tears streaking their faces. Tommy said, You only want us for money, Lucas whispered. Is that true? Nathan knelt beside them. Never. You're the most important people in my life. But you're always working, Ethan added quietly. And you get mad when we mess up. The words stung with truth. Despite his intentions, Nathan had been impatient when the boys spilled juice on important papers, distracted during their weekend outings by constant work emergencies. I'm still learning how to be a good uncle, he admitted. But I promise to do better. That evening, Gerald appeared at Nathan's door uninvited. This charade has gone far enough, he said, dropping a folder on the table. Emma was seeing someone else when she got pregnant. There's a chance these boys aren't even Michael's. Nathan's blood ran cold. The DNA can be manipulated, Gerald interrupted. Susan is desperate for financial support. Think about it. When Gerald left, doubt crept in despite Nathan's efforts to ignore it. Why had Michael never mentioned Emma before the pregnancy? His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I know the truth about Emma and Michael. Meet me tomorrow. Alone. Attached was a photo of Emma with another man, dated during the time she was supposedly with Michael. Nathan stared at the image, the ground shifting beneath him once again. Everything he thought he knew about Michael, about the twins, about his newfound purpose, suddenly none of it felt certain. The cafe where Nathan agreed to meet the mysterious messenger was nearly empty. A man approached, mid-40s, disheveled, with a hungry look in his eyes. You must be Nathan Mitchell, he said, sliding into the seat. I'm James Cooper. I dated Emma briefly before she met your brother. Nathan studied him warily. You sent the photo? Gerald paid me too, James admitted bluntly. $10,000 to say I was with Emma when she got pregnant. He has more photos, all doctored. Nathan's relief was immediate, followed by disgust. Why are you telling me this? Because Michael and Emma deserved better, James said quietly. They were the real deal, totally in love. Gerald offered me money to create doubt. But I can't do it. Not when those boys need you. After James left, Nathan drove straight to his childhood home, a place he'd avoided for years. There, in his father's study, he found a letter his father had written before his death. Nathan, beware of Gerald's influence. He resented me for inheriting the company instead of him. Now he resents you. Don't let him poison what matters most. Family. The truth crystallized with perfect clarity. Nathan wasn't just fighting for Lucas and Ethan anymore. He was fighting for the future Michael had died believing in. Higher! Higher! Lucas squealed as Nathan pushed him on the swing, his laughter carrying. Across the park. These Saturday morning outings had become their ritual over the past month, a simple pleasure that neither took for granted. Ethan watched from the monkey bars, more cautious than his brother but equally determined. Watch me, Uncle Nathan, he called, swinging hand over hand with newfound confidence. Nathan checked his watch. No urgent calls, no meetings. For the first time in his career, work wasn't his priority. The temporary leave of absence had been the right decision, despite Gerald's continued legal maneuvers. Be careful, he called as Lucas launched himself from the swing, heart leaping to his throat until the boy landed safely, grinning triumphantly. You worry too much, said a voice behind him. Nathan turned to find Susan watching them, her expression softer than he'd seen before. The past weeks had gradually thawed the ice between them as she witnessed his genuine commitment to the twins. Old habits, Nathan admitted. How was your shift? Long. Susan's eyes followed the boys with practiced vigilance. They look happy. Nathan nodded, noting the unspoken question in her voice. They are. With both of us. They sat on a bench while the twins played nearby, carefully navigating the new territory of co-parenting. Susan sharing stories that filled crucial gaps in Nathan's understanding of the boys' early years. Lucas hates thunderstorms, hides under the bed every time, she explained. Ethan's allergic to strawberries, and they both sleep with the hall light on. Each detail was precious to Nathan, another thread connecting him to the nephews he was just beginning to know. Michael made this for them, Susan said, handing him a small wooden box with the twins' initials carved into it. For their baby, teeth, school awards, important things. Nathan's throat tightened. He was always good with his hands. He talked about you constantly, Susan admitted quietly. Even when he was angriest about the unanswered calls, he never stopped believing you'd be part of their lives someday. Later that afternoon, Nathan and the twins sat in his newly renovated home office, now transformed into a playroom. Photos of Michael adorned the walls alongside the boys' artwork. Did you and Dad fight a lot? Ethan asked suddenly, examining a childhood photo of the brothers. Nathan froze, uncertain how to answer. Sometimes brothers do that. We fight too. Lucas nodded sagely. But we still love each other. Exactly. Nathan smiled, ruffling his hair. Your dad was my best friend, even when we disagreed. Ms. Harper says that's what family means, Ethan offered. Loving people even when they make you mad. Nathan's phone vibrated with a text from Catherine Harper herself. Parent committee meeting Thursday. Your presence requested. The boys' science project won first place. As he tucked the twins into bed that evening, Nathan felt a peace he hadn't known in years. The renovation of his sleek bachelor apartment into a home with dinosaur nightlights and bunk beds represented more than just physical changes. Uncle Nathan, Lucas mumbled sleepily. Are we staying here forever now? That's the plan, Nathan assured him. This is your home too. Good, Ethan yawned. I like it here. After they fell asleep, Nathan stood in the doorway watching them, marveling at how completely they'd changed his world in just 1 month. His phone buzzed, an email from his lawyer. Gerald had filed another motion, this time questioning Nathan's financial stability after his temporary resignation. Nathan silenced the phone, his resolution hardening. Gerald might have the company for now, but Nathan had found something far more valuable in his brother's sons. The boardroom fell silent as Nathan entered. 14 stern faces turned toward him. Gerald at the head of the table, a satisfied smile playing on his lips. Glad you could join us, nephew, Gerald said coolly. We were just discussing the company's future. Nathan had rushed from the twins, school play still wearing the I'm a proud uncle button Ethan had insisted he wear. The emergency board meeting, called without his knowledge, felt like the culmination of Gerald's elaborate chess game. What's this about? Nathan demanded. The board chairman cleared his throat. Given recent developments, we've voted to formally extend your leave of absence, effective immediately. The words hit Nathan like a physical blow. On what grounds? Gerald slid a document across the table. The Carlton account's departure triggered a domino effect. We've lost 4 major clients. Stock is down 17%. Clients you pressured to leave, Nathan countered, anger rising. That's a serious accusation, Gerald replied calmly. Do you have proof? Nathan didn't, and they both knew it. Before he could respond, his assistant knocked and entered. Her face pale. I'm sorry, but you need to see this, she whispered, handing Nathan her tablet. On screen was a breaking news story. Mitchell family feud, CEO's custody battle for wealth, not love. Accompanying it was a fabricated email allegedly from Nathan to his lawyer, discussing the twins' inheritance potential. This is a lie, Nathan said through clenched teeth. I never wrote this. Gerald feigned concern. The timestamp matches when you first met the boys. Perhaps you've forgotten. Nathan's phone rang. Susan. The school called, she said, her voice brittle with anger. Some reporter ambushed the boys with questions about money and inheritance. Lucas is hiding in the bathroom and Ethan punched another child who teased them. I'm leaving now, Nathan said, already heading for the door. We're not finished, Gerald called after him. Nathan turned back, addressing the entire board. Yes, we are. My nephews need me. That's what matters. The school, Catherine Harper, waited outside the main office, her expression grave. The principal feels it would be best if you didn't attend the field trip tomorrow, she said quietly. Some parents have expressed concerns. You don't believe this garbage, do you? Nathan asked desperately. Catherine's hesitation was answer. Enough. I want to believe you, Nathan, but the evidence Gerald fabricated. Nathan interrupted. You've seen me with the boys. You know I love them. I know you care about them, she corrected carefully. But maybe we should take a step back from our friendship until this is resolved. The rejection stung more than Nathan expected. By evening, he sat alone in the twins' bedroom, surrounded by the dinosaur figures and storybooks that had become his new normal. The boys were staying with Susan tonight, her suggestion after the school incident. A knock at the door revealed Gerald looking almost sympathetic. I came to offer a solution, he said smoothly. Resign permanently as CEO, sign over your voting shares, and I'll make this story disappear. Susan will let you see the boys occasionally. Nathan stared at his uncle, the man who had systematically dismantled his life. Why? He whispered. Why destroy everything I care about? Gerald's facade cracked, revealing the bitterness beneath. Your father chose you over me despite my sacrifices. I built this company while he coddled you. Then he left everything to his precious son and brother, cutting me out of what should have been mine. As Gerald left, Nathan realized he'd lost everything. His company, the twins' trust, Catherine's support, and the future he'd begun to believe in. The photograph of Michael stared back at him, his brother's smile a painful reminder of all he'd failed to protect. Nathan sat alone in his childhood home, a place he'd avoided for years. Dust sheets covered the furniture, and memories lurked in every shadow. After losing everything, he'd retreated to the one place Gerald couldn't touch, the modest house his parents had owned before his father's business success. A week had passed since his world imploded. No calls from the twins, no responses to his texts explaining the fabricated emails. His lawyer's attempts to counter Gerald's narrative had met brick walls at every turn. Nathan pulled out the wooden box Susan had given him, tracing the initials Lucas and Ethan carved by Michael's hand. Inside were childhood drawings, tiny hospital bracelets, and a flash drive he hadn't noticed before. His hands trembled as he connected it to his laptop. Video files appeared, Michael recording messages for his son's future milestones. Nathan clicked on one labeled, "For when you ask about me." Michael's face filled the screen, thinner than Nathan remembered, but with the same warm smile. Lucas, Ethan, if you're watching this, you're probably wondering who your dad was. I'm sorry, I couldn't be there to tell you myself. Nathan's throat constricted as Michael continued. Your Uncle Nathan and I grew up in this house. We built forts in the backyard, learned to ride bikes on that hill. He always rode faster, but I was more careful. Just like you two, Lucas. My little daredevil, and Ethan, my thoughtful planner. Michael spoke directly to the camera as if having a conversation across time. I want you to know your uncle. He's stubborn and works too hard, but he has the biggest heart. When you find him, and I know you will, give him time. He'll learn to put family first, just like our dad taught us. Nathan paused the video, grief and determination warring inside him. He wandered through the silent rooms, eventually finding himself in his father's old study. The family photo on the desk showed happier times. Nathan at 10, his parents smiling, Gerald standing slightly apart, his expression unreadable. On impulse, he opened his father's desk drawer, finding old business files, family documents, and a sealed envelope addressed to him in his father's handwriting. Inside was a letter dated 2 days before his father's fatal heart attack. Nathan, I fear Gerald's influence on you is becoming unhealthy. He sees the company as his life's achievement, not a means to create meaning and value. Remember why we built this company, not for wealth or power, but to create something lasting, something that matters. Don't let ambition steal your chance at happiness. I've watched you follow Gerald's path, putting success above relationships. Don't make my mistakes. I lost years with you and Michael pursuing what Gerald convinced me was important. It wasn't. Nathan sank into his father's chair, the truth washing over him. He'd spent years becoming the man Gerald wanted him to be. Driven, ruthless, alone. Exactly what his father had warned against. The doorbell broke his reverie. Susan stood on the porch, the twins half hidden behind her. We found more videos, she said quietly. They wanted to see where their dad grew up. Lucas stepped forward, eyes serious beyond his years. Did you really not know about us before? Nathan knelt to their level. I would have been there from day one if I had. Your dad tried so hard to tell me about you. Ethan pointed to his birthmark. Dad said in the video that this means we're always connected, even when we can't see each other. He was right, Nathan whispered, feeling something broken beginning to mend. As they explored the house together, Nathan made a silent vow. He would reclaim what truly mattered, not his company, but his nephew's trust. Catherine Harper stared at the papers in her hands, her expression grave. "You're filing for full custody?" she asked, looking up at Nathan. They sat at a quiet corner table in the coffee shop across from the school, their first meeting since she'd pulled away after the scandal broke. "I have to," Nathan explained. "Gerald's pushing Susan to send the boys to boarding school, says it would remove them from the controversy. I can't let that happen." Catherine set down her coffee cup. "The boys miss you. They've been drawing pictures of your house in art class, talking about the treehouse you promised to build." "I miss them too," Nathan admitted, the ache in his chest constant these past 2 weeks. His phone buzzed with a text from his lawyer. "Emergency hearing scheduled for Friday. Gerald's team bringing character witnesses." Nathan's jaw tightened. He won't stop until he's destroyed everything. "Why does he hate you so much?" Catherine asked. "It was never about me," Nathan realized. "My father chose family over business. Gerald never forgave him for it." As they parted, Catherine surprised him by squeezing his hand. "For what it's worth, I believe you now. The Nathan Mitchell I've come to know wouldn't use children for financial gain." Her support meant more than he expected. That evening, Nathan's doorbell rang unexpectedly. He opened it to find Lucas and Ethan on his porch, backpacks clutched to their chests, Susan's car idling at the curb. "1 hour?" she called through the open window. "We have dinner with Gerald at 7. The boys rushed into his arms, and for a moment nothing else mattered. "We found more videos from Dad," Lucas announced excitedly. "He showed us the secret fort in the backyard." Nathan smiled. "It's still there under the oak tree. We could visit this weekend if—" "Uncle Gerald says we're going to school far away," Ethan interrupted, his small face serious. "He says it's safer." Nathan knelt before them. "Is that what you want?" Both boys shook their heads emphatically. "Then I promise you won't go anywhere you don't want to," Nathan vowed, though he wondered if he could keep that promise. After the boys left, Nathan received a call from an unknown number. "Mr. Mitchell? This is Richard Peterson, your father's former business partner." The name sparked recognition. Richard had been pushed out of the company shortly after his father's death, Gerald's first move as acting CEO. "I saw the news," Richard continued. "It's happening again." "What do you mean?" Nathan asked. "Gerald did the same to your father, fabricated evidence, turned the board against him. William was planning to remove Gerald completely before his heart attack." "Heart attack," Nathan repeated slowly, a terrible suspicion forming. "My father was in perfect health." "He was," Richard confirmed gravely. "I always thought the timing was convenient." Nathan's blood ran cold. "I need everything you have on Gerald from that time. Every document, every email." The next morning, Nathan arrived at the company headquarters unannounced. The security guard, who had known him since childhood, waved him through despite his suspended status. Nathan accessed the executive archive room using his father's old security code. Never changed, a legacy oversight. Inside, he found the original medical reports from his father's death, board minutes from that period, and most damning, Gerald's hidden communications with a doctor who had been quietly paid millions after signing the death certificate. As he photographed the documents, the door opened. Gerald stood there, face twisted with rage. "You're trespassing," he snarled. "And you're a murderer." Nathan replied, holding up his phone. "Did you think I'd never find out? You killed my father, kept me from my brother, and now you're trying to steal my nephews." Gerald lunged for the phone, but Nathan was faster. Security cameras recorded their confrontation, capturing every word as Gerald, believing himself cornered, shouted, "William was going to ruin everything. Michael was just like him, weak and sentimental. The company deserved better." It was the confession Nathan needed, witnessed by security staff who had gathered at the commotion. Gerald was escorted from the building, screaming threats as Nathan watched, heart pounding with the knowledge that the final battle for his nephew's future had just begun. The annual Mitchell Enterprises charity gala gleamed with wealth and privilege, crystal chandeliers casting prismatic light over the city's elite as they discussed business deals and summer homes. Nathan adjusted his tie, feeling like an outsider, despite having hosted this event for years. He wasn't CEO tonight, just a man with truth burning in his pocket and determination in his heart. Lucas and Ethan stood beside him in matching suits, their small hands clutching his nervously. "Are you scared, Uncle Nathan?" Lucas whispered. The word uncle still warmed him every time they said it. The past week had brought cautious hope. Gerald's arrest for financial crimes had removed his immediate influence, but the custody battle remained uncertain. "A little," Nathan admitted. "But doing the right thing is more important than being scared." Catherine stood on his other side, elegant in a simple blue dress. Her quiet support had become his anchor through the storm. "Whatever happens," she whispered, "we're with you." The board chairman held court at the center of the room, playing the benevolent leader. His smile faltered when he spotted Nathan with the twins. "You weren't invited," he said coldly. "Actually, I was," Nathan replied. Several board members had privately expressed doubts about the company's direction, arranging Nathan's invitation to gauge the situation. The chairman's eyes narrowed at the twins. "Using children as props? A new low, even for you." Lucas stepped forward surprisingly. "He's not using us. We wanted to come." Nathan nodded to his assistant, who activated the presentation system. The massive screens displayed the evidence: Gerald's financial manipulations, falsified documents, and most damning, the audio confession of his involvement in William Mitchell's death. "For 8 years, Nathan addressed the stunned crowd. "Gerald, Montgomery kept me from knowing my brother's sons. These documents prove he fabricated evidence to turn Susan Parker against me." Gasps rippled through the room as Nathan continued. "He manipulated clients to abandon the company, forcing the board to remove me." Nathan paused, his voice strengthening. "I'm not here to reclaim my position. I'm here because my father founded this company with a purpose Gerald buried, to help children who lost parents like Lucas and Ethan nearly lost both of theirs." "This is absurd," the chairman sputtered. "He's desperate." "It's true," came a frail voice from the entrance. Susan Parker stood there, the twins' backpacks in her hands. "I've seen the evidence. Gerald threatened to cut the boys' medical support if I didn't cooperate with his custody plans." 3 board members immediately moved to Nathan's side, symbolically, shifting allegiance. The chairman saw his control crumbling. In desperation, he pulled Nathan aside. "Walk away now," he hissed. "We'll reinstate you as CEO, give you controlling interest. Just drop this crusade and leave the boys with their aunt where they belong." Nathan studied the man, another of Gerald's pawns now flailing without his puppet master. "You still don't understand," Nathan said quietly. "I'm not choosing between Lucas and Ethan and the company. I'm choosing to be the man my brother believed I could be. The uncle these boys deserve." As the chairman stormed out, the twins slipped their hands into Nathan's. "You chose us," Ethan said, wonder in his voice. "Every time," Nathan promised, lifting him into his arms. The senior board director approached. "We need to talk about the future of Mitchell Enterprises." Nathan nodded, but his focus remained on the boys' smiles, the true measure of his success. Later that night, as he tucked the exhausted twins into bed in their room at his house, Lucas asked sleepily, "Are we staying with you forever now?" "That's the plan," Nathan said, smoothing back his hair. "If that's what you want." "We want to stay with you and Aunt Susan," Ethan clarified. "And Ms. Harper, too." Nathan smiled, thinking of Catherine waiting downstairs. "I think we can arrange that." For the first time since finding the twins, Nathan knew exactly who he was meant to be. Not just Mitchell Enterprises' CEO, but Lucas and Ethan's uncle, Susan's ally, and perhaps something more to Catherine. The company would still be there tomorrow. Tonight, this was all that mattered. The headline declared victory. Mitchell heir reclaims legacy, family fraud exposed. But Nathan knew better than to celebrate. Gerald's arrest had removed his immediate influence, but the damage remained. A fractured company, a confused board, and most importantly, 2 little boys caught in the middle of adult battles. 3 days after the gala, Nathan sat across from Susan in the family court mediator's office, tension thick between them. Joint custody, the mediator suggested, reviewing their files. Equal time between both homes, major decisions made together. Susan's expression remained guarded. The boys need stability. They need family, Nathan countered gently. All of us. The mediator looked between them. Perhaps a trial period? 6 months of shared custody, then reassess? After a long pause, Susan nodded. On one condition, we make decisions together. About everything, including the company trust fund Gerald set up for them. Nathan blinked in surprise. What trust fund? Gerald established it last year, Susan explained. He claimed it was Michael's wish that the boys have financial security. Understanding dawned on Nathan. Another manipulation, creating financial dependence to control you. It worked, Susan admitted, shame coloring her voice. I was so afraid of losing their health care, their future. Nathan reached across the table, offering his hand. We'll figure it out. Together. The mediator smiled for the first time. That's more like it. Later that week, Nathan found himself in his father's former office, now his again by unanimous board vote. The company records revealed the extent of Gerald's manipulations, financial irregularities stretching back years, all designed to strengthen his control. A knock interrupted his review. Catherine stood in the doorway, holding a stack of children's drawings. The boys made these for your office, she said, setting them on his desk. They wanted you to have something more important than boring business papers. Nathan smiled, examining the colorful depictions of their expanding family, stick figures labeled Uncle Nathan, Aunt Susan, Ms. Harper, and the twins, all holding hands. They've included you, he observed. Catherine's cheeks colored slightly. I've been spending a lot of time with them, and with you. The moment stretched between them, filled with possibility. His phone interrupted with a text from Susan. Boys asking about Saturday plans. Treehouse still happening? Nathan responded immediately. Absolutely. Materials delivered tomorrow. Catherine smiled. The famous treehouse. Lucas talks about nothing else. Would you like to help? Nathan asked, surprising himself with the invitation. Fair warning, I have no idea what I'm doing. Neither do I, Catherine laughed. But I'm pretty good at following instructions. That weekend, Nathan's backyard transformed into a construction zone. Susan arrived with donuts and coffee, watching with amusement as Nathan struggled with the blueprint. Michael was always the builder, she remarked. You were the businessman. I'm learning new skills, Nathan replied, hammering his finger for the third time. Catherine supervised the twins as they painted boards, more paint landing on them than the wood. The scene was chaotic, messy, and perfect, exactly what family should be. By Sunday evening, the basic structure stood proudly in the oak tree. Not perfect, definitely lopsided, but built with love. As the twins climbed into their creation, Nathan stood between Catherine and Susan, watching with pride. We did good, Susan said softly. We did, Nathan agreed, his hand finding Catherine's naturally. For the first time since finding Lucas and Ethan, Nathan felt like they weren't just surviving the aftermath of Gerald's destruction. They were building something new, something stronger. The company would heal. The legal battles would resolve. But this imperfect, beautiful family they were creating, was the legacy that truly mattered. Nathan stared at the quarterly reports, the numbers swimming before his eyes. 3 months after reclaiming his position as CEO, Mitchell Enterprises was slowly recovering from Gerald's damage. Client confidence was returning, stock prices stabilizing, but the real victory was happening outside the boardroom. Today marked a milestone, the custody hearing that would finalize their arrangement. No more temporary agreements or trial periods. Today, the court would recognize what they already knew. Lucas and Ethan deserved the love of their entire family. The courtroom was quiet as Nathan, Susan, and Catherine waited. The twins sat between them, unusually subdued in their matching blue blazers. What if the judge doesn't understand? Ethan whispered, voicing the fear they all shared. She will, Nathan assured him, though his own heart raced with uncertainty. Their lawyer had warned them that three-way custody arrangements were uncommon. Nathan as primary guardian, Susan with extensive visitation, and Catherine increasingly part of their daily lives. On paper, it looked complicated. In reality, it simply reflected the family they'd become. The doors opened, but instead of the judge, Gerald's lawyer entered, his expression calculating. "Last chance offer," he announced smugly. "My client is willing to drop all counterclaims if Mr. Mitchell agrees to certain terms." Nathan's jaw tightened. Despite being under house arrest awaiting trial, Gerald was still maneuvering. "What terms?" Susan asked warily. "The boys attend Westbrook Academy, Gerald's alma mater. Their inheritance is managed by the firm of Gerald's, choosing until they're 25. And Mr. Mitchell steps down as CEO permanently." "Absolutely not," Nathan said immediately. The lawyer shrugged. "Then be prepared for a fight. We have witnesses who will testify about your unorthodox living arrangement. The court tends to favor traditional family structures." Catherine's hand found Nathan's, her quiet strength steadying him. "Our family may not be traditional," Nathan replied evenly, "but it's built on love and truth. Gerald's is built on lies and manipulation. I'll take our chances with the judge." As the lawyer retreated, Lucas tugged Nathan's sleeve. "Are we in trouble?" "No." Nathan knelt to their level. "Sometimes adults make things complicated when they should be simple." The judge, a stern-faced woman with kind eyes, listened carefully as they presented their case. Photos of their blended family, Sunday dinners at Susan's, homework sessions with Catherine, weekend adventures with Nathan, the treehouse calendar showing who would be where and when, the school reports showing the twins' improved performance since the arrangement began. "Your Honor," Gerald's lawyer argued, "this hodgepodge arrangement lacks stability. The boys need structure, not this experiment." The judge turned to Lucas and Ethan directly. "Boys, I have an important question. Where do you feel safest and happiest?" The twins exchanged their silent communication before Ethan answered for both of them. "With all of them," he said simply. "Uncle Nathan teaches us about Dad. Aunt Susan knows when we're sick before we do. And Ms. Catherine helps us be brave at school. They're our family," Lucas added, with the certainty only a child could muster. The judge nodded thoughtfully, then delivered her ruling. "Family isn't about following convention. It's about creating a home where children feel loved and secure. I see no reason to disrupt an arrangement that is clearly working." With her signature, their unconventional family became legally recognized. Gerald's final attempt to control the twins had failed. Outside the courthouse, Nathan lifted the boys into a celebratory hug as Susan and Catherine looked on, tears of relief shining in their eyes. "Are we really forever now?" Lucas asked. "We really are," Nathan promised, his heart full beyond measure. Michael had known what mattered long before Nathan did, but he'd finally learned the lesson his brother had tried to teach him, that no, success was worth sacrificing the people you love. 1 year later, Nathan stood in the backyard of his childhood home, now transformed with bright flowers and a sturdy treehouse. Laughter filled the air as Lucas and Ethan chased their new puppy, Buddy, across the freshly cut grass. The simple joy on his nephews' faces was worth more than all the business deals he'd ever closed. "Need a hand with those?" Catherine asked, stepping onto the patio where Nathan was arranging cupcakes for the twins' birthday party. "Please," he smiled, pulling her close for a quick kiss. Their relationship had blossomed naturally over the past year, built on shared devotion to the boys and quiet moments stolen between school runs and bedtime stories. "I can't believe they're 7 today," Nathan marveled, watching the twins demonstrate to Susan how high they could swing. "Michael would be proud," Catherine said softly, following his gaze. "Of all of us." Nathan nodded, his hand instinctively touching the framed photo of Michael that held a place of honor in their living room. They spoke of him often, keeping his memory alive for the boys through stories and traditions. The doorbell rang, and Nathan excused himself to answer it. His assistant stood on the porch, now the executive director of the Michael Mitchell Foundation. Sorry I'm late, she said, handing him a brightly wrapped package. Board meeting ran long. The new scholarship program is launching next month. 15 children who've lost parents will receive full college funding. Nathan felt a familiar warmth spread through his chest. The foundation had grown beyond his wildest hopes, helping hundreds of families in its first year. Michael's legacy lived on in ways he could never have imagined. Any word from Gerald? His assistant asked cautiously. Nathan shook his head. His uncle had been sentenced to 12 years for financial crimes, the investigation into William Mitchell's death ongoing. The occasional letter arrived for the twins, tentative, awkward attempts at connection that Nathan neither encouraged nor prevented. They deserved to make their own decisions about family when they were older. "Uncle Nathan, come see what we made," Lucas called from the yard, proudly pointing to an elaborate chalk mural covering the patio. The colorful creation depicted their entire extended family, stick figures with huge smiles standing before a house with a treehouse. As Nathan admired their artwork, his phone buzzed with an alert. He glanced down, then froze. "What is it?" Catherine asked, noticing his expression. "Gerald," Nathan said quietly, showing her the screen. "He's filed an appeal, and he's suing for visitation rights with the boys." Catherine's face paled. "Can he do that?" "Legally, yes, he's still their great uncle." Susan joined them, immediately sensing something was wrong. When Nathan explained, her expression hardened. "Haven't we been through enough, haven't they?" The adults moved inside to discuss the situation away from little ears, tension replacing the celebration they'd planned. His lawyers are arguing that, as a blood relative, he has rights, Nathan explained, reviewing the digital notification. They're claiming our unconventional family structure is detrimental. "That's absurd," Catherine protested. "The boys are thriving." Susan paced the kitchen. "This is just another control tactic. He can't stand that we're happy without him." Nathan ran his hands through his hair. "I thought this was over." A small voice from the doorway startled them. "Is Uncle Gerald trying to take us away again?" They turned to find the twins watching them, eyes wide with concern. Nathan knelt to their level. "No one is taking you anywhere," he promised, though uncertainty gnawed at him. "We're just dealing with some grown-up problems." "Is it because we're different?" Ethan asked. "Tommy's dad says we have a weird family." The innocence of the question broke Nathan's heart. "There's nothing weird about people who love each other taking care of each other," he said firmly. "Families come in all shapes and sizes." "Like a puzzle with different pieces?" Lucas suggested. "Exactly," Catherine joined them, wrapping an arm around each boy. "And our pieces fit perfectly together." Susan completed their circle. "No matter what happens, we face it together. That's what family means." Later that night, after the party had concluded and the twins were asleep beneath their star-shaped nightlights, the adults gathered on the porch. The legal notice sat between them, a shadow on their otherwise perfect day. "We could fight this," Nathan's lawyer had suggested on the phone. "But it will be messy. Gerald still has connections, money set aside for legal battles." Nathan looked at Catherine and Susan, the women who had become essential parts of his life, of the boys' lives. "I'm not afraid of a fight," he said quietly. "But I'm tired of the boys being caught in the crossfire." Catherine took his hand. "Whatever you decide, I'm with you." Susan nodded her agreement. "All of us, together." As the moon rose over their home, Nathan made a decision. Gerald had taken enough from them. Years with Michael, nearly a year with the twins. He wouldn't take their peace now. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, watching over the sleeping boys who had changed his life, Nathan knew they would face whatever came with the strength of the family they had built. Unconventional, imperfect, and stronger than any legal threat. The courtroom was quieter than Nathan expected for such a pivotal moment. Gerald sat across the aisle, diminished in his prison jumpsuit, yet still radiating the arrogance that had defined him for decades. His eyes, cold and calculating, followed Lucas and Ethan as they entered with Susan. 6 months of legal battles had led to this final hearing on Gerald's visitation rights. 6 months of depositions, character witnesses, and psychological evaluations for the twins. 6 months of explaining to 7-year-olds why the great-uncle they barely remembered wanted to see them now. All rise, the bailiff announced as Judge Martinez entered, the same judge who had approved their custody arrangement a year earlier. Nathan stood, Catherine's hand steady in his. Their lawyer had warned them to prepare for either outcome. Gerald had hired the best legal team money could buy, arguing that family connections shouldn't be severed despite his incarceration. "Before we begin," Judge Martinez said, reviewing the file, "I'd like to speak with Lucas and Ethan privately in my chambers." Nathan's heart raced as the twins followed the judge and court-appointed child advocate. They had prepared the boys as best they could, explaining that they should simply tell the truth about their feelings. "They'll be fine," Catherine whispered, though concern shadowed her eyes. An hour later, the twins returned, solemn but composed. Judge Martinez followed, her expression unreadable. Having reviewed all evidence and spoken directly with the children, she began. "I've reached my decision. Regarding Gerald Mitchell's petition for visitation rights." The courtroom held its breath. Nathan noticed Gerald leaning forward, anticipation written on his face. "Mr. Mitchell, your petition is denied." Gerald's outburst was immediate and explosive. "This is ridiculous. They're my family." "Mr. Mitchell," the judge continued firmly, "family is earned through love and trust, not merely declared through blood. The children have expressed no desire for contact, and after reviewing your history of manipulation, I find no reason to override their wishes." Gerald's gaze locked with Nathan's, hatred burning in his eyes. "This isn't over," he hissed as guards approached to escort him out. "Actually," Nathan replied quietly, "it is." Outside the courthouse, the twins raced ahead to the park across the street, the weight of the proceedings already sliding off their small shoulders. "What did you tell the judge?" Susan asked them curiously. Lucas shrugged. "The truth, that we already have all the family we need." Ethan nodded in agreement. "And that Uncle Gerald never sent us birthday cards until he wanted something." Nathan exchanged a surprised glance with Catherine. Sometimes they forgot how perceptive children could be. That evening, they gathered in the backyard for an impromptu celebration. The legal cloud that had hung over them for months had finally lifted. As Susan and Catherine prepared dinner, Nathan found a moment alone with the boys who were constructing an elaborate fort from lawn chairs and blankets. "Are you okay?" he asked, helping them secure a wayward corner. "Today was pretty serious." "We're okay," Lucas answered, focused on his architectural masterpiece. "Uncle Nathan?" Ethan asked hesitantly. "Is Uncle Gerald a bad person?" Nathan paused, considering how to respond. "I don't think people are all good or all bad," he said finally. "Gerald made some very wrong choices because he wanted power more than he wanted family." "Like Darth Vader?" Lucas suggested. Nathan smiled despite himself. "Something like that, but without the redemption arc, at least so far." "Do we have to hate him?" Ethan persisted. "No," Nathan said firmly. "You don't have to hate anyone, but you also don't have to let people who hurt you back into your life." The boys seemed satisfied with this answer, returning to their fort construction with renewed energy. That night, after the twins were asleep, Nathan found Catherine on the porch swing, gazing at the stars. "Penny, for your thoughts," he said, joining her. "I was thinking about family," she replied, nestling against him. "How it can be both your greatest strength and your greatest vulnerability." Nathan nodded, understanding completely. Gerald never understood that strength comes from connection, not control. "And now?" Catherine asked. "Do you think he'll ever stop trying to control things?" "Maybe not," Nathan admitted. "But his power over us is gone. We've built something stronger than his bitterness." As if to punctuate his words, Susan appeared with a tray of coffee. Their co-parenting relationship had evolved into a deep friendship, the three adults united by their love for the twins. "To freedom," Susan proposed, raising her mug. "To family," Catherine added. "To Michael," Nathan finished softly. "Who somehow Knew we'd all find each other. Under the stars, their unlikely family unit complete, they allowed themselves to believe that perhaps the worst was truly behind them, that healing could finally begin without shadows from the past. Inside, the twins slept peacefully, their dreams unburdened by courtrooms and great-uncles filled instead with tree houses and puppy adventures, exactly as childhood should be. "Higher, Uncle Nathan," Lucas called, swinging fearlessly from the zip, line Nathan had installed between the treehouse and the sturdy oak at the far end of the yard. Catherine watched nervously from below, ready to catch him if needed. "My turn next," Ethan chimed in, bouncing with excitement despite his usual caution. 2 years had passed since the courthouse confrontation with Gerald. 2 years of peace, growth, and the beautiful chaos of raising twin boys who were now 9 and bursting with energy. The backyard that had once hosted somber conversations about legal battles now rang with laughter and adventure. Nathan secured Lucas's landing before, helping Ethan into the harness. His phone buzzed in his pocket, a text from Susan saying she'd be arriving early for the weekend barbecue. Their co-parenting schedule had evolved into a comfortable rhythm, with the boys splitting time between Nathan's home and Susan's apartment, a few blocks away. "Careful with that landing, buddy," Nathan called as Ethan launched himself down the line with newfound courage. Catherine applauded his successful arrival, her engagement ring catching the afternoon sunlight. "Did you see that, Miss Catherine?" Ethan beamed. Though she and Nathan would be married in 3 months, the boys still occasionally used her former title, a habit from their early days together. "I sure did. You're getting braver every day," she smiled, smoothing his wind-blown hair. Nathan watched them with a fullness in his heart that still surprised him. The life he'd built was nothing like the one he'd envisioned before finding the twins. It was messier, louder, and infinitely more meaningful. The doorbell interrupted his thoughts. Susan arrived with Buddy, who had been staying with her while their fence was repaired. The dog bounded toward the boys, nearly knocking them over in his enthusiasm. "How was the foundation meeting?" Susan asked, helping Catherine arrange platters on the outdoor table. "Productive," Nathan replied. "We're expanding the scholarship program to include counseling services." The Michael Mitchell Foundation had become Nathan's passion project, channeling his business acumen into something that would have made his brother proud. Every child they helped felt like honoring Michael's memory. As they prepared for dinner, Nathan's phone rang, his lawyer's number flashing on the screen. A chill ran through him despite the warm evening. "Everything okay?" Catherine asked, noticing his expression. "Not sure," he answered, stepping away to take the call. When he returned, his face was unreadable. "Nathan?" Susan prompted. "What is it?" He took a deep breath. "Gerald died yesterday. Heart attack in prison." The news landed heavily in the peaceful backyard. Though Gerald had been absent from their lives since the court ruling, his shadow had never completely disappeared. "Should we tell the boys?" Catherine asked quietly. Nathan watched Lucas and Ethan playing with Buddy, their faces alight with innocent joy. "Yes, but not today. Let them have this perfect afternoon." Later that night, after the twins were asleep, the adults gathered on the back porch, processing the news. "I don't know what I'm feeling," Nathan admitted. Relief? Sadness? He was still, "My uncle." "It's complicated," Catherine said, squeezing his hand. "He caused so much pain, but he was still family." Susan nodded thoughtfully. "The boys might have mixed feelings too. They barely remember him, but they understand what he tried to do." Michael would know what to say. Nathan sighed. "Actually," Susan said, "I think he already did." She reached into her bag and pulled out a worn envelope. "I found this when I was cleaning out my storage unit. It's addressed to you, from Michael." Nathan accepted the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a letter dated just weeks before Michael's death. "Nathan, if you're reading this, then our stubborn uncle has finally let you know about my boys. I've tried reaching you so many times, but I understand now that Gerald would never allow it. Too much at stake for him. I don't have much time left, but I need you to know something. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting the harm someone caused. It's about not letting that harm dictate your future. Gerald will never understand what truly matters in life. Don't let bitterness toward him consume you the way it consumed him. Take care of my sons. Tell them about me, the good and the bad. Tell them about our childhood adventures and stupid mistakes. Most importantly, show them how to build a life based on love, not power or money. You'll make mistakes, we all do. But you'll learn, just like I did when they were born. Being their uncle will teach you what really matters, just as being their father taught me. Until we meet again, Michael. Nathan wiped tears from his eyes, passing the letter to Catherine and Susan. How did he know? Nathan whispered. How did he know exactly what I would need to hear years later? He was always the wise one. Susan smiled sadly. As moonlight bathed the yard, highlighting the treehouse Michael would never see and the family he had somehow helped create, Nathan felt a sense of completion. Gerald's death closed a painful chapter, but Michael's words opened the possibility of healing even the deepest wounds. Tomorrow, they would tell the boys about Gerald. They would answer questions honestly and navigate whatever emotions arose. But tonight, watching over the sleeping children who had changed everything, Nathan finally felt free of the past, ready to embrace the future their unlikely family had built together. 5 years later, Nathan stood in the backyard of what had once been his childhood home, now transformed beyond recognition. The oak tree that had housed the twins' first treehouse now supported a more elaborate structure built by the boys themselves, showcasing their growing skills and independence at 14. The yard was filled with guests celebrating the twins' middle school graduation. Friends from school, teachers, neighbors, and the extended family they had built over the years, all mingled in the summer sunshine. Nathan watched with pride as Lucas and Ethan moved confidently through the crowd, no longer the shy, uncertain children he had discovered at Sunshine Home. They've grown so much, Catherine said, joining him with a platter of fresh fruit. Her wedding ring clinked against his as she handed him a strawberry. Sometimes I can't believe it's been 7 years, Nathan replied, his gaze following the boys. They look more like Michael every day. It was true. As teenagers, the twins had developed the same crooked smile, the same thoughtful frown when concentrating. They still bore the crescent birthmarks on their wrists, now worn with pride rather than hidden beneath sleeves. Susan approached, camera in hand. Group photo by the oak tree in 5 minutes, she announced. I want one with all of us before Lucas gets his braces off next week. Their co-parenting relationship had evolved into something none of them could have predicted. A true friendship, based on mutual respect and shared devotion to the boys. Susan had found love again with a kind-hearted doctor she met through her nursing work, expanding their unconventional family even further. Have you seen the presentation the boys made? Catherine asked, nodding toward the outdoor screen they had set up. Nathan hadn't. He'd been busy grilling and greeting guests. Is it ready? Almost. They've been working on it for weeks. Very secretive. As if on cue, Lucas clinked a glass for attention. The gathering quieted as he and Ethan moved to the front of the yard. Thank you all for coming today, Ethan began, his voice deeper now but still carrying the thoughtful quality that had always been his trademark. We wanted to share something special, Lucas continued. Something we've been working on for a long time. The screen behind them flickered to life, displaying the logo of the Michael Mitchell Foundation. Nathan's heart swelled. The foundation had grown beyond his wildest dreams, now supporting hundreds of children who had lost parents. For our school's community impact project, Ethan explained, we created something new for the foundation. Lucas clicked to the next slide. Introducing the Mitchell Brothers Mentorship Program, connecting children who've lost parents with trained mentors who have experienced the same loss. The presentation continued, showcasing their research, interviews with child psychologists, and a pilot program they had already implemented at their own school. The level of detail and compassion behind the project left Nathan speechless. We know what it's like to lose a parent, Ethan said, his voice steady, and we know how much it means to find people who understand. We've been lucky, Lucas added, his gaze finding Nathan, Catherine, and Susan in the crowd. We found a family that chose us. Not everyone gets that chance. As they concluded to enthusiastic applause, Nathan felt Catherine's hand slip into his, squeezing gently. They had both noticed what everyone else might have missed, the subtle reference to Gerald in the boys' presentation. Not by name, but in their understanding of the difference between those who viewed family as possession versus those who viewed it as choice. After the presentation, guests gathered around the large oak tree for photos. Nathan found himself standing between the twins, both now nearly reaching his shoulder. "Dad would have loved this," Lucas said quietly, adjusting his tie. The word dad still carried weight. Respect for a father they barely remembered but had come to know through stories, videos, and the legacy Nathan had helped preserve. He would have, Nathan agreed, emotion tightening his throat. He would have been so proud of you both. "Uncle Nathan?" Ethan asked, uncharacteristically hesitant. "We've been thinking about something." "What's on your mind?" The twins exchanged, their silent communication, the connection between them as strong as ever. "We want to visit Uncle Gerald's grave," Lucas said finally. The request caught Nathan off guard. They had never shown interest in Gerald before, beyond understanding his role in their complicated family history. "May I ask why?" Nathan inquired carefully. "To say thank you," Ethan explained, seeing Nathan's confusion. "If he hadn't kept us apart at first, you might never have become the person who could really be there for us. His mistakes brought us together," Lucas added. "Not the way he intended, but still." Nathan studied their faces, marveling at the wisdom they somehow possessed at 14. "Michael's letter was right," he said softly. "Which part?" Ethan asked. "The part about forgiveness being a way to free yourself, not the person who hurt you." That evening, after the guests had departed, and the yard was quiet except for the gentle rustling of oak leaves, Nathan sat on the porch swing with Catherine. The twins were inside with Susan and her husband, sorting through graduation gifts and planning their summer adventures. "They're amazing, aren't they?" Catherine mused. "I sometimes forget they're still just kids. They had to grow up fast," Nathan reflected, "but they also got to be children in ways Michael and I never did." "Because of you," Catherine said, resting her head on his shoulder. "You broke the cycle." Nathan thought about the path that had led him here, from ambitious CEO focused solely on the company to the man he'd become. The irony wasn't lost on him that Gerald's attempts to keep him from the twins had ultimately resulted in Nathan discovering what truly mattered. "Not just me," he corrected gently. "All of us. You, Susan, even Michael's memory. We all gave them something different." They sat in comfortable silence, watching fireflies begin to illuminate the yard. Through the window, they could see the twins, laughing with Susan, their animated gestures reminiscent of Michael in his happiest moments. "Have I ever told you about the day I found them?" Nathan asked suddenly. Catherine smiled. "Many times, but I'd love to hear it again. I was just stopping by Sunshine Home to finalize a donation. I had no intention of staying more than 15 minutes, just another tax write-off, another business obligation." "And then you saw them," Catherine prompted. "And then I saw them." Nathan nodded. "Two little boys in clothes too big sharing a bowl of soup. I didn't know they were Michael's sons. I didn't know about the birthmarks. I just knew they needed someone to see them, really see them. And they needed you to see yourself," Catherine added, "the person you could become." Nathan thought about the man he'd been 7 years ago, successful by every external measure, yet fundamentally incomplete. The twins hadn't just given him a family. They'd given him purpose, perspective, and a profound understanding of what success truly meant. Inside, Lucas called out about a board game tournament starting. Ethan appeared at the door, waving them in. "You're on my team, Uncle Nathan. Catherine's with Aunt Susan." As they joined the laughter inside, Nathan realized that this noise, this joy, this perfectly imperfect family, was the legacy Michael had truly left him. Not a company or an inheritance, but the chance to build something far more valuable. A home where everyone belonged exactly as they were. The crescent birthmarks that had once revealed a hidden truth now simply marked them as family. bound not just by blood or legal documents, but by the daily choice to love each other through all of life's chapters.